All right, folks, quick lesson on rhythmic training here, okay? Let's go ahead and get going. All right, what we're trying to get you to do is to be better at decoding what you see as written notation into a speakable form. Because if you can say it, you can play it, okay? And when we're talking about speaking it, we're talking about both with your mouth, verbally, and through your instrument musically, speaking both ways, okay? Decoding the notation. All right, things that you need to know for rhythmic notation are things such as your time signature, how many beats are in a measure, what type of note receives one beat, which at some point that will change, but for now we typically use the quarter note. Your time signature looks like this. 4/4, there's 4 beats in a measure. The quarter note receives the beat. All right. If we had 3/4, well, there'd be 3 beats in a measure. 2/4, there'd be 2 beats in a measure. Right now we're dealing with 4/4, 4 beats in a measure. Okay. The other part of rhythmic notation is recognizing the vocabulary. The vocabulary, the words that we're going to speak. All right, words being the notation. So, for instance, something that received 4 beats is what we call a whole note or a whole rest. Okay, the half note, 2 beats or half rest. Quarter note, which is 1 beat or a quarter rest. Eighth note, which what you're looking at is a singular eighth note. You typically see them grouped together in a group of 2, which would make 1 full beat. Okay, so that's a half of a beat. Eighth note or eighth rest. And then you have a 16th note, which if you saw them typically together, it would be maybe in 4s, because 4 of them make a full beat, 1/4 of a beat by itself. Okay. All right, as I'm reading, I like to see things in brackets. You'll see a little picture of it in just a minute. So whenever I'm looking at an entire measure, and again, we're in 4/4 time, in this case, I would see 4 beats, and then in my head, I would automatically isolate them and kind of dissect the measure, so to speak, all right, which would allow me to see maybe like at the bottom there it says notation that's showing more than 1 beat, like a half note or a whole note. I could see that and say, hey, that's worth 2 beats, that's worth 4 beats, and it would help me to count. But I have to break each measure down by beat, all right, and this is what it looks like. In my head, I see it this way. Spoken, it is 1 and 2, 3, 4. However, I see it as 4 full beats, and then I look at beat 1 and say, hey, there's 2 notes within beat 1 because each of those receive a half beat, and speaking-wise, that is 1 and. So putting it back in context, here's your quarter note, and 1 and 2, 3, 4. All right, but learn to bracket these in your head. It'll help you to isolate and figure out how to speak each beat, and then putting it together in a measure, ultimately into an entire phrase. All right, that's your vocabulary. Now we come over to the fluency. We develop fluency with our vocabulary through speaking it a whole bunch. So we're going to speak quite a few rhythms here, and these next few weeks are going to be really devoted to rhythms and using the scale degrees that we learned last week to follow up with rhythms on these scale degrees. Okay, we'll tie them together. So let's look at some of these rhythms that we have coming up. And remember, we're in 4/4 time. 4/4 times, so there's 4 beats in a measure. And just go with your gut. You're probably right. If not, you'll get better at it, but go with your gut. All right, so looking at it, I'll give you just a moment, look through it, and I've already got this one bracketed for you. So I'll give you about 10 seconds to count through this line. Go. Okay. You notice you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in every measure, but obviously there's a few extra notes in each one. So let's look. I'm going to flip the slide here so now you can see how it would be written out, and then I'll speak it for you. So there it is. Here's your quarter note. It would sound like this. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and. All right, let's say it one more time. I'm going to let you do it and I'll snap. Ready, go. All right. You probably want to make sure that you're speaking like in a whisper too, so you don't distract the person next to you. Sorry I didn't say that before. All right, here's the next rhythm. You got 10 seconds. Read it. All right, hopefully you bracketed it, and it looks something like this. All right, and it would be spoken like this. Ready, together. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. All right, I'll let you speak it one more time. Again, you bracket each measure by 4 beats, and it allows you to see everything. Okay, and then you can speak it clearly. All right, this is on you this time, and ready, speak. All right, here comes the next one. Immediately go right into it. You have 10 seconds. Go. And spoken together. Ready? And 1 E and a 2, 3 and 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. 1, 3 E and a 4. 1 and 2 E and a 3 and. Give you one more time. Look at that. Beat 4 had a rest right there. Make sure you're speaking it fluently. Okay, here we go. And on you. Ready? Speak. All right, now let's keep going more into the fluency. As we said earlier, if you can say it, you can play it. So, for instance, you just said 1 E and a 2, 3 and 4, something to that nature. Just take it with your hands. 1 E and a 2, 3 and 4. You can pat it on your legs, on your instrument. Do 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 something, so that you just get into the habit of transferring what you speak verbally to speaking it musically. Okay, that's what we want you to transfer this knowledge, tie it together. Okay, all right, now let's go to the opposite side of this. I'm going to give you something to say. I want you to say it in rhythm, and then I want you to write out the notation. I'm going to give you 4 things to write. They're just 1 measure excerpts. Again, you're going to speak it in rhythm and then write out the notation. So we're kind of going in reverse here, okay? And all 4 of them will be together. So, number 1. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. You should see a place on your sheet where you can do this. All right, number 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure you're writing out the rhythm in just that first measure. All right, number 2. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Okay, number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. 1, 2, 3, 4, and. All right, and number 4. 1, 2 E and a 3 and 4. When you looked at it, you may not have knew how to throw in the E and the but when you see it, then you're, oh, those are 16th notes. So then you can kind of say it in time. So again, 1, 2 E and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 E and a 3 and 4. Okay? All right. Fluency again. Make sure that you visualize the notation. So for instance, the very first one said 1, 2, and 3, 4. As soon as you see 1, then the 3, the 4, there's nothing with it, you're going to assume that those are quarter notes. They get 1 beat. So now I see the quarter notes in my head. 2 and, well, there's 2 notes for that full beat, so it's the 2/8 notes. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then this is what you would write down. Quarter note, 2/8, quarter, quarter. Okay? All right, so developing the fluency. It is just simply reading a little bit every day. We're not sitting here trying to get you to do a whole bunch every day, but just a little bit. You learned how to talk by talking a little bit every day. Actually, some of you may have talked a lot. But you talk a little bit every day. Not a lot of it on one day, but a little bit every day. That develops fluency, and we want you to do that musically speaking, okay? Our goal is to be accurate in everything we read, because when we are accurate, it makes us have a good time and means that our ensemble can play a lot of great music and play it well, okay? So being accurate. And again, the more you say it, the better you'll play it. Not only with just rhythm, but as we get into articulation and other things, the more you say it, the better you will play it, because it is a direct, your ability to play is a direct result of your ability to speak, okay, and to articulate well. It does the same thing with our instruments. So I encourage you to really invest yourself in speaking well and speaking a little bit every day. Not a lot of it all one day, but a little bit every day. And as always, results, not excuses. Make sure that you are absolutely giving your best in everything that you do. All right, let's have a great face-to-face session. See you in a minute.